Is it working? Okay, we got good volume. Okay.
Welcome.
Welcome, everyone. We are here at the Great Room Cafe. This is the NRBBA. My name is Tommy Emmer. I'm your president, and we've got a pretty decent crowd here. Everyone's nice and socially distanced. Everyone just about has their own couch. It's perfect. We hope you're on your couch at home and tuning in. We're going to get started here. We've got a lot of speakers, an action-packed meeting here today. And one of the first recognitions I'd like to give is to the Great Room Cafe for having us here. If everyone can give us a little round of applause. Very, very nice. They are helping us. We lost our home at the library due to COVID and the hour change and all that sort of stuff. So they have graciously brought us in and have been nothing but excellent host for us. In fact, we have the manager, Anna E., who is going to say a little something here for us. If you want to grab that mic, that's a clean one right there. Yeah. And just flip it up for to go on. You got it? There you go. Should be good.
Ooh, I'm just gonna sing, right?
And she's gonna sing, guys.
Right?
She's a singer. Yes.
Alrighty, hi guys. Thank you so much. We appreciate the support. It means a lot. We're gonna be here for you guys wherever you guys need us. So we're here for you guys, and we appreciate the support. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. So the next person we'd like to have speak for us is, his name is Kyle. He's with the Redondo Beach Police Department. Kyle, come on up here. Thanks for taking some time this morning with us. And that's a clean enough mic.
Hello, everybody. My name is Kyle Lofstrom. I'm the community-based officer for the Redondo Beach Police Department. You guys probably usually see Dinah Larry here. She will actually be retiring next week, which is unfortunate for us all because she's a wonderful lady and does a substantial amount of work. And if you don't know her, you live in a hole because she knows literally everybody. So I'm going to do my best to fill her shoes and start coming to these regularly and just be a resource for everyone for whatever you guys need. I don't have a ton to update you on. Obviously, one of the things I would like to say that's more prevalent for businesses is obviously one of our bigger issues is just property crime in general. So catalytic converter thefts, burglaries, automobile theft, stuff like that. So 3 big points I'll hit on is lights. Let's put some lights up everywhere. The more light we have, the better. It's one of the most cost-effective ways to reduce crime. I actually went to a training class recently, and I learned that 3,000 Kelvin LED is the best. So, just to show off for you guys. And then cameras. Cameras are too user-friendly and easily accessible and inexpensive now to not have them. And it's our best bet for follow-up. So we're pretty good at catching people right after or even before, but still the best. Some of our best work is done after the fact, obviously. And then some actions. So if you guys see weird stuff, just call us, right? So if something seems unusual to you, it probably is. And if it's not, we can go ask politely and find out. And at least, there's some peace of mind there.
And the fastest way to reach you is through
911? I mean, really, if you think there's a crime in progress or something, if you're not sure, lean towards 911. We're not going to chew you out if it's not actually 100% emergent. You're not bothering us. We do that all the time. Our non-emergency dispatch line is 310-379-5411. So if you're confident it's not an emergency, you can call that number and reach a dispatcher, and that's how you can get an officer out there. The last thing I suppose I'd like to add is we're going to start doing site inspections. So if you have a business here and you want an officer to come look and offer some suggestions on how to make it a safer place, reduce crime, it'd be like kind of a combination of target hardening, suggestions, and crime prevention through environmental design, stuff like that. So we're going to start offering that, and you can reach out to me to get that. Is there any questions?
Yeah.
We have a question from Laura MD on Facebook.
Laura, I love Laura.
Yeah, we all love Laura. When is the next etching?
So obviously we were trying to do it 2 to 3 times a year. We had one in November that we did on a Saturday because most of our stuff is done on weekdays, and we had some requests for weekends or evenings because a lot of people go to work during the day and stuff. So as we were thinking about another one, obviously all this stuff with COVID kind of blew up over the winter. So we're looking maybe a little bit towards when it warms up in the spring or early summer. And we're going to try and go for an evening or a weekend again.
Can you stand up? Because people won't be able to.
We often partner with
If you miss,
Gilda here.
Yep.
Come on in.
so Gilda from Cars Automotive Muffler and Kyle, we have work partnership with the city. And so if you miss this event, you can always come to our business and we will etch your converters for free. There's no charge. It takes a couple seconds. We squeeze you in. So, if you miss the event, please, Laura, come on by and we'll do it for you.
Where are you located?
We're at 2617 Artesia Boulevard. We look like the big In-N-Out burger on the north side of Artesia Boulevard.
And it's Cars Automotive.
Correct.
Okay.
And I'd just like to piggyback off that. We're not trying to monopolize the etching business. So etching tools are pretty inexpensive, or if you have a friend that has one, you can climb under there. And at the very least, if you know you're going to have the car for a long time, etch the license plate onto it, because that can be helpful, because we can run a license plate anytime, any day, and get an owner. Obviously, that's less permanent for us in the sense that people sell cars and a license plate then comes back to a different person at times. So we often track all of our etchings and tie it to the VIN number. But again, if you know you're going to have the car forever, and you can do it yourself. Like, we're not trying to monopolize the etching business there. Yes.
And Tanya McKenzie asked if you could talk about the MLK event.
Oh, yes. So Monday, the 17th, is Martin Luther King Jr. Day. The Redondo Beach Police Department Community Engagement Board is hosting the 3rd annual Mlk Celebration at Redondo Union High School's auditorium. That's at 3 p.m. January 17th. It's actually, it's really cool. It's very kind of special and festive, and the speakers are pretty powerful, and it's a pretty meaningful event. I actually enjoy it a lot. So is there any other questions?
I just had a question on where's the status on, say, the homeless? There was a time a couple of years ago where you guys really didn't have much power. There's nothing we could do. You could call, and what's happening with that? I mean, I don't see it actually a lot right now. So is there something else?
Can you repeat the question, please?
The question was, what's kind of the status on the homeless situation overall? If you've seen an uptick or noticed an uptick. I'll give you kind of a big picture that can kind of hopefully answer that question long term. Socially speaking, the response has been transforming, right? Because criminal law enforcement response all the time, like it was way back when, is not necessarily effective, right? So as attention was drawn to the matter, and nobody else was really volunteering at the time, except the police. People would call the police for a homeless issue or what have you. The strategy has changed to obviously offering a multitude of responses. So, right, we work with mental health professionals, nonprofit, for-profit organizations that provide services, housing, access for these people to have access to benefits if they qualify, housing, etc. So essentially, we're working with a multi-pronged approach, which a criminal law enforcement response is a part of, right? But we kind of have to check the boxes first that we've offered all these services, and if there's refusals, then enforcement action is taken. So the response, the overall immediate solution response is not as apparent because we're going through all these steps and treating it more socially and medically and not just criminally as the response. And then overall, we have a number of local municipal codes that were used to combat certain activities like that, which a lot of times, like you said, when you said, hey, we're not able to do anything, that's kind of the issues we run into. Is the constitutionality overall is called into question. So the Supreme Court or higher level courts will strike down some of these municipal codes that were a resource for us in enforcement. And there's a whole legislative process to sort of reassess those, rewrite them if need be, adapt to new legislation that protects new facets of that whole homeless realm. So thankfully you live or work here with us. We're progressive in that manner. We have LA County Department of Public Health mental health professionals that work with us. We regularly work with Harbor Interfaith and PATH to offer all these services. We obviously have the pallet shelters, there's been a number of success stories there, transitioning people out of homelessness and et cetera. And then you still have a full service police department in the event of any emergencies or criminal response that's necessary at the time. So we're actively working on a regular basis. So if you're having issues, just call us, first, obviously, if there's safety issue. Any other questions?
Kyle, I had a question.
Yes.
The outreach that you're doing to businesses as far as making, locations more secure, things like that. Do you have any sort of marketing material that you can share with us that we can get out and spread the word?
Not yet.
Okay.
It's fairly new. I just wanted to kind of throw it out here in this initial thing because that plan was brewing in my head for a while. So, but yes, I will come up with a flyer or something. Some sort of announcement because we like to start doing that residentially and commercially.
Great, awesome, thank you.
All right, and we do a bunch of fun stuff still.
Yay.
Nice.
So, and those are all usually free events. So we like that because then we get to connect with a lot of people. Because a lot of people take advantage of those fun events where people either come to us or we go to where people are, and we can kind of make those connections and change minds, inform, etc. So just be on the lookout for those fun events.
You still doing coffee with a cop?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yes, we do.
I love that.
We are having a little fun pop-up coffee event. So maybe take, it's a little bit secretive, kind of day of, casual, candid.
Pause the video stream.
So maybe take a stroll down the Esplanade on Saturday morning. Maybe you'll see our local police officers out there.
All right.
You heard that here, folks. All right, don't
Saturday
spread it
morning
around.
Esplanade stroll would probably get you some free coffee, maybe. Just throwing that out there. All right.
Kyle, thank you so much. Appreciate it. All right, guys. So now the man of the hour here. I'd like to introduce Mlk Sharifi. He is director of Caskey and Caskey Commercial Real Estate, and he has a lot to talk about, and will be able to answer questions as well. So, Mo, I'm going to hand it to you. Thank you very much.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. I took my mask off so I can at least talk to you guys. You guys can hear me. My name is Mlk Sharifi. This is my wife Nahal over here. We work together. We've been living in Redondo since 2001 on Grant Avenue, and we love it. So this is my city. This is our city. I care deeply for this city. And you're gonna hear me talk about a whole bunch of stuff this morning. I hope it doesn't come across as criticism and more of constructive criticism about what we can do to improve our city. I took a lot of notes. I'm gonna be looking down at them from time to time, so I wanna make sure I don't miss anything. But the biggest question I always get from everyone is, why is nothing happening on Artesia Boulevard? Why is everything stagnating so high? I'm gonna just touch base on it quickly. We'll come back to it. The biggest reason is the red tape in the city. And I can talk about many case and points that we ran into. I've been doing this is my 18th year doing commercial real estate. So I see that a lot. Case in point, right down the street, the Kurt Hardware. So we listed to sell that property, and it sat in the market for nearly 2.5 years. And it wasn't because there was anything wrong with the property. You can't find a better corner lot. 20,000 square feet. These are usually what, in my world, in commercial real estate, those are dream locations that everybody would want. But that property fell out of escrow 3 times before we were able to sell it. And every time it failed is because of the red tape we ran into down in the city. There are a few in this room that were at those meetings when we were down there talking to planning to try to get it done. But at one point, we had it in escrow. The buyer was a very, very known developer out of Santa Monica, and they really wanted it. And the whole plan fell apart. They ended up canceling the transaction over 3 parking spaces. So it happens.
What do you mean 3 parking spaces?
So the city has requirements. If you're going to do a mixed use, if you're going to have a couple of spaces downstairs and some apartments upstairs, I understand they need some parking, and that's acceptable. The property currently has 21 parking spaces right now. So these guys, the city asked them that they need to come up with 28 parking spaces, and they were getting creative. The most they could do was 25. So they keep asking you, and when I say that this stuff takes time, when you take a plan and you present it, and they look at it, they come back and redline some of the stuff, saying you need to go fix that. And that's fine, that's what they do. So they go back, and it doesn't happen over a day or so. You do that, you pay for it, you bring it back and represent it. So they couldn't come up, they keep redrawing their plans. They couldn't come up with an extra one. They came up to 26, but then they asked them maybe they need to knock out one of the units. And developers are looking to return their investment. They want to make money. So the question is that they walked away. At the end of the day, they walked away. Right now, I don't know if you guys noticed, you guys know where Yanagi is? Yanagi Restaurant. You know, Yanagi just moved across the street because they're about to start construction. It seems like the developer, the one who actually ended up buying the property, they're going to develop it, and it's going to be some sort of a food concept. There is a chance, actually I talked to Brian Shim a few days back. He owns Yanagi, and there may be a chance that when they do the construction, he can come back. So I love their food. I don't know if you ever had their box lunches.
Yeah,
I'm selling for Brian from North Redondo. So the concept is multiple food sources. I've heard the word ghost kitchen. It could be something like that. So it will be a multitude of restaurants. So you show up and it could be pizza and taco and burgers and different concepts, you know. So that's what I'm hearing. That's what they're going to do. I haven't been involved since the sale, but I'm just in touch with them from time to time, trying to find out what's going on. Does anybody have any questions so far?
Do you
Yes,
have any kind of a feel for when it might open? Would it take like 2 years or?
Yes, about 2 years. Mm-hmm. That's the 18 months is what the deadline was. So a lot of this has to do with COVID. When something like Omicron kicks in, you know, they get concerned. You have a lot of employees working next to each other and all that. So that's really the cause, I believe. Most of them, investors just want to get in and get it done. It's private money. They don't have to ask anybody for anything. They just do their own. So we expect that to happen shortly. Now that Brian has moved on. So that's like a first sign saying it's going to happen. A little bit further down the street, corner of Ringe and Artesia is the Peter restaurant. You guys seen that one?
Yeah.
It used to be a burger shop.
Yep.
So I actually know the owner of the Peter restaurant. He has different locations in Santa Monica, and he's been finished with that location for over 4 months. The question is some red tape about a gas line. I talked to him yesterday before I came here, and once that's resolved, he's ready to open. He could open 2 months ago, and he wants to, but he's just very frustrated with everything that's going on. You know, he's not from here, he's from Santa Monica. He bought the building, and I don't know, you guys haven't been inside. I've been inside. It looks very different. He spent a lot of money building that up. So as a city, as a community, do we need to kind of go back and protect these guys? Because it's them who bring in more tax dollars to the city. He's looking to hire about 9-10 people. Right now, there are not 9-10 people working there. So we need to work this as a team.
What can we do?
Pick up the
as
phone.
residents, as business
Right.
owners?
Pick up the phone, go to the city hall meetings, talk to your elected representatives, let them know what they need to do. I saw a movie years back, and this little statement stayed with me. It says, when laws become absolute, there is no justice. Remember that. We've got to be able to work together. To kill somebody's transaction over 2 parking spots. You had the ownership of Kurt Hardware. They'd been here for 46 years, and they were really hurt over that. That the city was not playing. I mean, they waited around for 2.5 years, almost 3 years, for a sale to happen. So they left unhappy. I know that. I'm still talking to them from time to time. Some of the other updates, you guys may have already heard about this stuff. So Joe Hopkin was the city manager a couple of years back. Joe called me and said, hey, do you want to be a part of a little thing we're doing called the Artesia Beautification project? So I was on that for about a year. John was on with me. There were a few more. So we came up with some ideas about what to do, especially with Artesia Boulevard and Aviation. Some of the ideas we actually came out from it was, you may have seen some of the city signs. They look a little different. They look green. They're lighted. I love that. When you drive down the street, you know exactly where you are. So that's one, and it's a little more pronounced. It's a little bit larger. We talked in detail about fixing our sidewalks. So if somebody is on a wheelchair, if you even try it as a game, try to get across Artesia Boulevard, every 15 or 20 feet, it's a different type of paving. That makes it very difficult for someone with disabilities. So that was one of the things we talked about can we somehow fix this so elderly or people with ADA, they can actually get from one side of the street all the way down, staying on the same side of the street. So I think that was important. We actually came up with the idea on the Greenbelt, the parking space that you see.
That was good.
So that was, and then I think the other side is some of the, workout equipment and all that. So that was our idea. And the reason behind that was those 2 little shopping centers right next door, they had a lot of employees. And the employees would come to work, and if they parked in the parking lot, then the customers couldn't get in. So we're trying to come up with a way to figure out what can we do. So that actually created an additional like 19 or 20 spaces. That's going to help out alleviate these guys running out every 2 hours and putting money in the coins and all that. And then once the the South Bay Galleria project starts, we were able to put aside $3 million from the $980 million fund, I believe, to be spent on Artesia Boulevard for what we just talked about, for repairs, updates, and upgrades and everything. So I can't wait for that to kick in. That's gonna really help, more lighting, more seating on Artesia Boulevard. That's what we're talking about. Any questions before I move on? Yes, sir.
So, we've spoken briefly about my concept. Do you see us eventually being able to fit on Artesia? Sorry. we spoke briefly about my concept that we want to bring to the territory. And I was wondering, do you see with these new developments, us being able to place ourselves there based on the size and what it is we're trying to bring to market?
Sure. Yes, I believe so. The question is always going to be down to the city planning department, and it's always going to come down to one thing: parking. It's always parking related, and the zoning is different for, the same location for different businesses has different regulations. So if I said, hey, I have a little school, mini school, they're going to ask for a lot of parking. If I'm doing Sylvan Learning Center, they're going to ask for a lot of parking because it involves more cars. But if the highest use for parking, of course, is medical. Usually either 4 or 5 per thousand, either 200, 250 per thousand. So we'll just have to figure out the way what their requirements is for your use. And if you're gonna do a restaurant, usually the city will come back and say, so how big is the restaurant? It's 3,000 square feet. Well, how much of it is the kitchen? Because kitchen is different from where customers will come in. Well, I'm gonna have 10 tables. If you're gonna have 10 tables, they figure nobody would come to a restaurant and leave in 5 minutes. So be ready for them to ask for 10 parking spots. I'm just gonna round this up, don't hold me to all this, but that's usually how it plays out. The number of parking is what determines, for every business, their use. But I think we can find what you're looking for. Yes.
Mo, question: how did the Kurt Hardware deal then go through if parking was an issue? Like, what got you over that hurdle?
Sure. So the other company that we were under contract with the second time around, their development was a mixed-use development, combination of retail spaces and office spaces above. And they added all the parking. They wanted more parking. The only way they could get away from it was to have a smaller footprint. And they're motivated by income, rent, return on investment. And they weren't willing to reduce 1,500 square feet from their building to add more parking. Because they look at 1,500 square feet at $3 a square foot times a month times a year, and all of a sudden the numbers get kind of large and astronomical. And commercial properties are bought and sold based on a return, a cap rate of return. And most developers, that's why they do. They don't do this for love. They do this they want to make money. That's what they're interested in at the end of the day. So the new concept is completely different. I understand it's completely different. I haven't seen any of the plans, but I'm just talking to them, and they wouldn't have moved forward and pay all that money if they didn't have any green light from the city. They had their entitlements approved. We waited 8 months for them to get their entitlements. So they got their entitlements.
So,
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, I understand because that happened to us because we remodeled. The city will say, oh, right, you have to have this many parking spots, and we start the construction, we're almost now, oh, well, we forgot to tell you need fire hydrants. Well, that took 2 parking spots, and that red tagged the whole remodel, and you can't squeeze parking lots after you build. And so they need to, once they give you a number, they should be accounted for. This is why we did it. You gave us a green light, and then 8 months into the construction, oh yeah, sorry, you need 4 more because you just took 2 for the fire hydrant, and so they need accountability because it's people, they're spending their hard-earned money, and we need a fire hydrant or sprinklers. After we had put $500,000 in a new construction, and the fire system was going to cost more than the whole construction. So, the city needs to be accountable for, if one person says it, they all should stick to it. And then on that beautification, we have one of those electrical boxes in front of our business, and I wanted to have it wrapped for that art thing. And I'm like, if I'm going to put that money into making it beautiful, let me have it at mine. They're like, oh, well, you can put your application in, but you're not guaranteed it's going to be on that one. And I'm like, well, I'm not gonna do it then. I wanna beautify my property and what's in front of my property. Well, you have to go to the meeting. And I'm like, really? I mean, they give you so much steps. Well, you have to come to the meeting. You have to give you a reason why. And I'm like, I want to pay this to make the city beautiful. Let me enjoy what I'm paying for in front of my business, not, I mean, yeah, I'm sorry, it could be yours, but, you know, I want to do it. I don't care what the artwork is. Just let me have it at my business. And so I dropped my application because just let me write my check and let me have my, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like,
Seems so simple.
yes, and they make it so hard to want that, you know? They should let the merchants know, hey, we have this. Do you want to beautify your street level?
Yeah.
If you want it, pay it, and we'll do it for you. But no, you know, they don't give you that easy.
Yeah, there's a lot of red tape.
Right
Yeah. Still?
I don't need that.
Okay.
Bill,
Well,
you need a-
for TV.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess my question is, how long ago were the parking requirements reviewed by the city? A lot has changed. You know, we're doing all this stuff with high transit. I mean, you know, corridors and bus routes and all that other stuff. If the city's parking requirements are based on something a decade ago, then they need to update that to find out what the new trends are for people to get places. And maybe part of that would be to reduce the requirement for parking spots. So I'm just saying, you know, they need to be refreshing that parameters for why we need so much parking. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
I'll talk about that right now.
Yeah, a lot of times that's, you know, we're looking at something that's a decade old, and a whole lot of things have changed since then, and especially, you know, with COVID and all the other things going on.
Let me answer that, and then we'll get to Annette's. So, the city has a general plan, and if you're on the city's email, you probably get those emails all the time that they're telling you they have meetings, and you can go, you can talk about what you guys want and all that. The general plan is being updated. General plan is at least 10, 12 years old. There was a group called GPAC. They're also involved, trying to come up with ideas. So how the general plan happens determines what happens over the next 10 years. John?
General plan is from 1994.
Okay. So, and I'll give you, so John just mentioned that general plan, last time it was updated was 1994. So are we in for a review? Yes. Do we need to start pulling the trigger and getting it done? Yes. That determines what happens with Artesia and Aviation. As far as zoning, will there be an allotment for more density? For example, on Artesia Boulevard, is it okay to build a 3-story building? Right now, I believe the maximum is 2. If it's a 3-story building, my idea is not only you're adding more, that you can get an investor says, oh, an extra story, another 2,000 square feet. So it's an incentive for them to come and put money down and redevelop it, and so the city doesn't look like 1970. Some parts of Artesia Boulevard are very old.
We're gonna want more parking spaces.
Yes. And also, if Artesia Boulevard is one of the main corridors for everybody to get to Hermosa and Manhattan, right now we're just a driveway for them. They drive through our city and go home. They don't spend any money here. If we have restaurants, coffee shops, places they would want to stop, they'll spend money here. Those are tax dollars that is walking right through our city. They enjoy getting off the 405 and driving Artesia going all the way to Hermosa. They won't spend a dime here. But I do know some of you, when you want to go get something to eat, you guys are all at Pier Avenue in Hermosa. Why are you doing that? The reason is there is nothing on Artesia. You're going down, spending your money in another city, they're taking the tax advantages. You go to a 3-story building, maybe it also kills noise for the properties on either side of Artesia Boulevard for residential, because it acts as a block. These are just ideas I'm just kind of throwing out. Will they allow more mixed use? Over the past few years, a lot of cities are getting away from allowing commercial mixed use because it leaves a lot of opportunities for developers. They're changing the zoning to a code called NC, Neighborhood Commercial. We have that. So the city has more to say about what you can and can't do with the property you own. Developers are looking for mixed use, and mixed use is just like what I just mentioned. So you have a combination of both residential, retail and office, or even residential upstairs. And it works. I mean, the world is changing. We need to get with that. Somebody came and they wanted to buy Kurt Harbor. They wanted to put an Amazon store, a little grocery store, and they wanted to put WeWorks upstairs. I thought that was a great idea, because every time I hear they run questionnaires through North Redondo, two things people want: better restaurant, food concepts, and the ability that they don't have to get on the freeway to go to work. They don't want to get on the 405. So if you can make that available to people, if there's a WeWorks here, or any concept, I don't have WeWorks, I don't have their stocks, but any concept like that, that you can just get out of your house, get on a bicycle, come over there, do your work, and go home. You're still doing your job, you don't have to get on the freeway and go somewhere and add to the, our carbon footprint and everything else. So you gotta get to your city, you gotta get to the people that are running the city and ask them to move on. We need to get this stuff done. There are a lot of old buildings at Artesia. How many of you guys have you seen that, the little preschool that's been sitting there since I remember,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
At least 20, 22 years that I remember.
Yeah.
And me and Nahal actually found the owners up in PV. She went to their house and dropped off the package. I heard back from them saying, yeah, we'll consider selling. And then things kind of fell apart. They've owned it for years, and all they do is they're keeping their belongings there. There is nothing happening. You know where it is? Right next to Redondo Glass?
Yes.
Talk about a beautiful spot that can be developed. And it's just sitting there. Legally, I don't think the city can do anything to a property owner as long as they're maintaining their property to the basic standards. So if they had stuff growing out of it or anything like that, that dirt on it, but as long as they keep it clean. But when I talk to developers, they have no inclination to do business here. And I hope this doesn't come out wrong, but in my world, in commercial world, Redondo is known as Condo Redondo. That's the only thing they're interested in. So I don't know if it's true, but we sure have a lot of condos. We have a lot of R3s, especially on 3 streets on either side of Artesia Boulevard. I believe they're starting to cut down on that, not allowing as much. Because every time you have that many, then you have to have maybe another high school. Maybe you need more school because you have more kids. So a lot of things happens when you start, kind of compacting everybody together. So I made a couple of, so landlords don't have any incentives to spend money because they don't get a return on their investment. If a landlord's here says, if I go and spend, $500,000 updating my building to get it rented out, if the rent around here is around $2.50 a square foot, there's no way they can get even $3. So they don't have really any incentive to want to spend money because they know they won't be able to get their money back. So the Kurt Harbor spot is like the first one we sold at a very high price, and I'd really like to see, I think that one's going to be key, that's just me, to see how it gets developed and what comes. And maybe I'm talking to other developers and they're all saying, well, let's see what happens here. Let's see how long it's going to take before they start seeing some income. Right now, nothing has happened yet. We're still kind of waiting. So I'm hoping that they'll break ground, they'll finish it up, and then I can pick up the phone and start calling our developers saying, look, it happens in Redondo. You guys can see a very good return on your investment. This is a gold mine. You need to come over here. Let's see.
Mo,
Yes,
do we
ma'am.
want to?
Oh, hi, Annette. I'm sorry.
No problem. One of my questions was about the preschool or whatever. It looks like they're cleaning it up right now. But my other questions are, do you know what's going in at the old sofa factory at Ringe and Artesia? Because they papered the windows, so it looks like something's happening.
Yes.
And then the other one more, and the other is the beauty college, which is an ugly college right now. So those are my two.
Sure. So they heard the question? Okay. So 2202 Artesia Boulevard, corner of Ringe and Artesia. It's about 9,000 square feet, just about 9,500 square feet. They just leased about 4,000 square foot of it to Banner Carpet. So Banner Carpet is going to take the corner. The rest of the building, around 6,000 square feet, still up for lease. That's who's going there. That just happened just recently. The beauty school, they have ideas to redevelop it, but as far as I know, there's nothing coming up anytime soon. Someone bought it to redevelop it, but you see, it comes down to if I bought it and I spend another $300,000 or $400,000 to demolish it and build it, when will I really see any money? So sometimes you just hold and say, maybe I can just get rid of it, give it to somebody else who wants to do it.
Or it's cheaper for them to keep it empty than to develop it and rent it out.
Right. I mean, developers are always they don't want to put their money into a black hole. Just because they own the building doesn't mean they have to build it the next day. They'll just let it sit until the concept works. For example, maybe they hold off and say, hey, maybe the general plan will come out and allow me more density so I can do something. It has pretty good parking in the back. You can't tell from outside. It's got good parking in the back.
So the property right across the street from us, it was the old Gam shoe store. That place, people want to buy it. The guy just doesn't want to sell. I mean, and the homeless encamp on it, and the homeless encamp on it. You know, it's dirty. It's, you know, even the city doesn't even trim the trees around it, and it's like, it's horrible.
Any questions before? Yes, sir, Steve.
What's going on with Emerald Garden? It seems to be papered up right now. Are they still in business? Or?
They are in business. Actually, I was there last weekend and picked up some food. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Why is it papered up in the window?
I don't know, but I do know that they're in business. We eat there regularly. My kids love their food. They're very good food.
Place next door.
What's next door?
It's the Taekwondo place next door.
Oh, that's the one that's papered up?
But there's a fishing place there.
Right. Now, you want to come and talk about the cutlery?
Oh, I mean, it's no big deal.
Just
yeah.
so.
She just had a question.
I'm sorry. Yes, sir.
Well, I think what she's going to say is relative to that area. So she could go first, and I could then answer.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just where the old macro shop used to be. I'm sure everybody has noticed that it's a Japanese cutlery. I just went in and I talked to them. It's a family business, and they have high-end knives for chefs and home, and they do sharpening. It's like a family, and they have one side is they have their showroom, which is kind of blacked out. You can see it from outside. They have these amazing knives, which is very interesting. And then the other side is like their shipping and their office. So they're going to be there for now. And it looks nice. At least there's something there, and they have a nice sign out and signage. So.
Bill.
They used to do it in Manhattan Village.
Yeah, but no, they do free sharpening.
Mo, since I've been listening to you and also living in this community for 15 years, I kind of observed that there's a team to have a commercial area similar to ours, and they seem to want to preserve whatever environment they have there, but they're not, it doesn't seem to me that they're considering the interests of our boulevard here. So how much of this is due to that kind of resistance? Have you met that in the city hall?
We have, so 90277 and 90278 make up our city. We need the votes for anything to happen. I would love for us to have a Hollywood Riviera up here. You guys go down there? I love it. It's my city. I go down there. You park your car. I promise you, you'll find something good to eat. You can walk around. You feel like you're in a European country. It really is. You feel great. You walk around, the seating outside, everything. So Artesia, 64,000 cars go through Artesia every day. If any of your businesses got 2%, 3% of that, I think you guys be doing pretty well. If you did 5%, you're doing really well. You got signage. I mean, there are only two ways to get to Manhattan and Hermosa Beach. Either you get off on Rosecrans or you get off on Artesia. We are it. We're 50% of it. They can probably do, but 64,000 cars. So more food concepts, more places for people to stop and look and say, I could stay here, I could eat here, I could grab my coffee here. So that's correct. Yes, that's something. But you need to be vocal. You need to start attending or tell your friends and everybody to attend those meetings, even if it's online. We need to let them know that we're as much a part of the city as 90277. And I love 90277. Seriously. Yes.
7-8.
7-8.
Anybody else?
I have one more question. I really love the idea that you were talking about the WeWork situation, where people can have a small office, maybe a satellite office of their major corporation or what have you, and use up some of these vacant spaces. And in a way, it seems like that concept would require less parking than a restaurant or some retail establishment. So why hasn't that idea gained more traction?
Sure. So the developers that I'm talking to, they are interested, but they're kind of gun shy to come and spend $2-3 million to buy a property, not knowing how the city would react in the long run. They've seen the red tape and they're just a little gun shy. They're afraid to come. They certainly have money. We have more developers in Manhattan Beach that would love to be here on Artesia Boulevard. I know many names personally today that they're willing to buy, cash buyers, and they know exactly what they want to do. They just don't know how the city is going to react, and everything stops. They're all waiting to see if somebody else is willing to get in and do something. That's why 2424 for Artesia, I think that's going to be a key. I mean it. Not just because I sold it. I mean it. That one is like somebody came down, paid $3.5 million, bought a piece of land. They're going to develop it, and then we'll see the ramifications of what happens. Is it going to take a little bit of time? Possibly. But we need to be actively involved with our city and remove the red tape.
And removing that red tape, is it all hinge on what the general plan settles out to be? And if so, when can we expect that to be settled out?
I don't have an answer to that, but my understanding is that is correct. Once you have a general plan, it's like driving down the freeway and the freeway sign says 55. So I know if I'm doing 55, nobody's going to stop me. The general plan right now is 1994 apparently. So until we have a new general plan in place, so developers can go to the site and look and say, okay, if I buy it with this density, this is what I can build. Then they have a roadmap to where they're going to go. Right now, we don't have one. It's still the old stuff. And I don't blame people that are working at the city. They're just applying the rules. You go down there and say, oh, I have 4,000 square feet and I want to do this. And they have this chart they look at. What are you going to do? I'm going to do whatever. They look and say, oh, you need this many parking spaces. Or these are the regulations you need to follow, right? You can't blame them. They're just trying to apply whatever it said. You can go and ask for a variance, but it takes time, it takes money, and somebody says, well, instead of that, why don't I go and buy a piece of land in, I don't know, Hawthorne and Lawndale, and I'll just develop it because I can just finish it up in less than a year. You guys looked at Lawndale and Hawthorne lately? You've seen everything that's happening on on Hawthorne and Lawndale Boulevard. I mean, everybody's trying to take advantage of what's happening with Sophie Stadium. That one is reverberating. 5 years ago, I sold a lot in Gardena, very close to the stadium, for $800,000. I just bought it for another client at $3 million. I bought that lot. I bought that lot for a client. So, is it reverberating? Yeah. I mean, one concept and everything over there has tripled easily around Lenox and around the stadium. You can't get your hands. I have clients that are looking to buy residential income property, and they are going through the roof. They are going through the roof. Prices, and I'm talking very high. Something you would never think. If somebody came and told you, if you want to buy a house in Gardena right now, minimum price is $900,000, some of you probably jump out of your skin, because you wouldn't think that could happen. We just did one, right? So things are changing, and we can't just wait around and stagnate. We need to kind of get this going. A couple of things I wanted to talk about. Some people were asking what's available around here. I didn't know about yours, Annette, until yesterday. I talked to Sherry.
Yeah.
I have somebody who wants to come and take a look.
Oh, somebody really great came yesterday.
Okay, this is someone else we found. I talked to her about something, and she said, I have that. And I was like, which one? I said, well, I know Annette. And she said, yeah. So she gave me, I'm so sorry. She gave me the bad news. So I have somebody, they'll contact you to come and take a look at it. When is the last day?
The end of February.
I'm sorry. I loved your class. You taught me how to make paella.
Yeah.
So.
And I learned how to make tamales.
Yeah, Mo, if there's anything else you wanted to say, or does anyone have any final questions? We had one other speaker that I wanted to make sure that we had time for. But with that, so Mo, thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thank you guys. Before I go, I just hope it doesn't come across that we're complaining. We're just trying to say, look, we have an amazing city.
Yeah.
We do. We have an amazing location. We just need to work together, bring some money into the city, and get some tax dollars. And that all goes for our kids, for our schools, for our police departments. It's all ours. But it seems like we're kind of like trying to eat the food, like going around, there's an easier way to go about it. That's my last one. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you, Mo. Thank you. No, I just want to say that was very inspiring for me to hear what Mo had to say, because if anything, it's energized me to we need to be talking more about this, and this is a perfect platform to be doing that. So I would dare to say that we need more meetings will be like this. It would be my hope, just to be able to start to energize our community here. So Mo, thank you very much again.
Thank you guys.
So I want to introduce our final guest speaker here. His name's Scott. Scott, I'm sorry, I'm horrible with last names.
Oh, Behrendt, Scott Behrendt.
Scott Behrendt, come on up. And Scott is with the Planning Commission. And he wanted to introduce himself, and he may even be able to speak to the GPAC a little bit. We'll see what he has to say. If you want to...
Yeah, any mic will do.
Okay, that mic, there you go.
All right. Well, before I do anything, thank you, Tommy, and thank you, Tommy, thank you, Mickey, for contacting and getting in contact with me and allowing me the opportunity to come and introduce myself and be with you here today. And I absolutely want to thank our great city council member, Laura MD, who hopefully is listening in now. If it wasn't for Laura, I would not have met Tommy, and I wouldn't be on the Planning Commission in many ways, because Laura did support and vote in favor of me being on that commission. So thank you very much, Laura. And if I didn't have a microphone in my hand, I'd lead a round of applause right now. I will be very quick because I know your time is valuable. My name is Scott Behrendt. My wife and I are 20-year residents and homeowners here in North Redondo Beach on Ruland. We have 2 children in the Redondo Beach Unified School District, and we're very, very proud and happy to be here in Redondo Beach. As I said, I'm a new member of the Planning Commission. And in that regard, I'm involved in zoning, development, and the planning here in North Redondo Beach, and including some concepts and issues that have been discussed this morning. It's great to see all of you. I saw earlier folks I know, Mr. Todd Burke, who was with us, former council member John Grant. I see John is here from the Aquatic Center. Some of my fondest memories as a child, as an adult, was being with my child in the Daddy and Me classes, swimming with them. I don't know if you've had that experience, but wow, I mean, I just thank you. And thank all of you, and including Mo. Wow, what an inspiring and energetic and most importantly, educational presentation you gave. You all are a resource, you're important. And I just want to say, as a member of the Planning Commission, it's important to me to hear from you and get feedback on issues, general issues, policy issues, concepts, ordinances, legislation, things that are important. I want to hear from you. I want to be educated. I want to be informed, and you're a terrific group for me to be able to do that. Things that may be happening or should happen on Artesia, specific issues, for example, retail cannabis, again, general conceptual items. I'd want to hear about that and learn about it. Homeless pallet shelters, what are your thoughts on that? And other things that only you would know about. And again, that's why I'm here today, because I do want to learn more. Feel free to contact me. Tommy has my contact information. I'm happy to provide that to you. And again, I'm just happy to be here to meet all of you. I know you're busy. I don't want to take up any more of your time. And so with that, that's all I have. Yes, sir?
I'd like to ask you a question.
Okay.
You sat through the whole presentation of Mo.
I did.
What do you have?
I'd be happy to do it again. It was that good.
It was excellent. It was very enlightening. And so, as a member of the Planning Commission, you heard what he said about the plan.
Yes.
How does the plan address those issues of Artesia?
So, with respect to the general plan, as Mo pointed out, there's a general plan advisory commission or committee. They're reviewing those issues. I believe it's in process. They're going to have, if they haven't already had, I don't think it's happened, a public hearing where they're going to discuss and address their work. I am not on the GPAC, but I do follow it. And the GPAC, as Mo pointed out, the general plan is everything in a lot of ways. I mean, that is the architect. It's like that 55-mile-per-hour sign that Mo mentioned. That's the architect, in the simplest terms, that's the architecture by which the city can be developed or not. But I'm not involved in that specific committee.
So
Yes, please.
I don't live in Redondo, but we have our business in Redondo. City that we live in, they must have a committee like yours that you sit on, but they're out there looking for investors, looking for companies that want to come into the city and build, and working with the developers and the board to go to the city and say, this is what we have, you know. So it's that committee that's going out there bringing these Fortune 500s that want to come to our city and build and be part of our community. I don't know, is that what your committee's doing? Or are you just addressing us that, you know, are tired of that, you know, what's happening to, and addressing that part? I mean, because there's a whole big thing, and, you know, I'm not involved. I hear everybody, but I hear what my city does, but, you know, just trying to work those little things. But it's the big picture that Mo is doing. He's working his, you know, his business to bring businesses to our city, and then they get getting shot down. So he's on doing, you know, that end, but it's the committee that are looking for Fortune 500s, big companies that come to our city. So just fill me in on what you guys do besides, oh, give me ideas, which I'm happy you guys are doing that. What are you guys actually looking for businesses to come into our city?
Well, that's a great question. Thank you for asking it. So the city does have a community development director, Brandy Forbes. Her and her staff, and perhaps other in the city, are involved in development, perhaps involved in working with developers, outreach perhaps. So that is what the city or through Brandy Forbes or others are involved in. For the Planning Commission, which is the committee that I'm a member of, we handle all issues related to zoning, planning, and physical development of the city. Whether it's, hey, we need to or we should consider revising maybe zoning ordinances. Maybe we need to change something. That's something that the Planning Commission first takes up and then provides advice to the City Council. That's what we do. We also handle, Mo pointed out, and I can't comment on any specific case, but maybe a developer's asking for a variance in parking. Maybe they want a few less parking spots. So that's something that would be presented to the Planning Committee, and we would deliberate on that in the appropriate session and make a decision and give advice to the City Council for their ultimate determination. So we do deal with those details as well as the broader what should our city be, what should it look like type issues when it comes to ordinances, et cetera. Yes.
So the Planning Commission is the first stop if we need a variance. So people at the NRBBA, our businesses and our residents need to voice the need for that variance so that you can support it, and then it goes to City Council, and then we need to voice our opinion to City Council so they can support it too. Is that how that works?
In some ways. So variances would only come up if there's a specific project and application before the committee. And usually the way that would work is we would have a public hearing where folks could come in and express comments or give testimony and make their case, if you will, or educate the Planning Commission on, you know, what should be done in this particular instance. And the Planning Commission in open session in a public forum would then discuss and deliberate that type of specific issue. If it's a specific project asking for variances. So I hope that answers the question.
Right, so we could have supported Mo, and that's what this meeting is all about, is that now we're going to be learning about those needs so that we can come and support as the NRBBA, as the residents and businesses in North Redondo Beach.
Right.
Just very quick, please.
Scott, question. When does the Planning Commission meet? And those are meetings that we can attend online, correct?
That is absolutely correct, Tommy. The Planning Commission generally meets the third Thursday of every month. They publish an agenda, which I understand the city is now emailing out on the email list that Mo mentioned. So you could look at that agenda, see what's on there, get involved, use your networks to get people to come in and comment on whatever the issue may be. And just to go back to Mickey's point quickly, so as a planning commissioner, I keep an open mind. I make no decisions. I do not deliberate on specific issues other than in open session, and I make no decision until that open session ends, all of the information, the comments, and the evidence been presented. So
and that's how all planning commissioners operate.
That's all yeah, and,
right.
And so that's our duty. That's
right.
how we operate. Yes.
Terrific. Thank you.
Yeah, I want to bring up something, just an outside observation. First of all, North Redondo does not have an area like the Riviera Village. I guarantee you there's no 68,000 cars driving through Riviera Village. That's just the first thing. You know, if we had an area away from Artesia that could be developed like the Riviera Village, then we could talk about something like the Riviera Village. But right now, we're just a major conduit going in and out. And so, and I hate to say it, but we are the ugly stepchild of, you know, Redondo Beach, because we have Manhattan and Hermosa between us and the big water. But in order to develop this, there needs to be a different thought process as to what we're doing with a major artery versus what's going on in the Riviera Village, because that's a destination spot. I guarantee you maybe 30,000 cars go up and down PCH, but they don't go through Riviera Village. And so, you know, we have to keep that in mind when we start talking about variances of what we want to do versus what South Redondo wants to do. And unfortunately, because we are the other stepchild, you know, we don't have all of the support up here other than Laura, who's doing everything she can to, you know, help this area. But,
yes,
you know, it's a whole different concept for us than it is for the Riviera Village. And these are things, you know, because when you sit, as you said, when you sit there, and Mo said it, they open the book, here's the checklist. If the checklist doesn't match what we're trying to do as a developer, then they're just following the rules. if we get to all of the council members, we can change the rules. But until we change the rules, we're pounding sand. I'm sorry. So, you know, we need to change the whole mixture of the council in order to get what we need up here. And by, fortunately, you living on Ruland, I live on Nelson, so, you know, we have our own perspective, but it's a different world down there in the 7-7 than it is in 7-8. And so, you know, you got to kind of keep that in mind. If we're trying to change something here, this is a different business environment than South Redondo, and then the Riviera Village is really what I should say. So, thanks.
Noted, yes.
Mo, did you have something else you wanted to say?
No, just get involved. When you get those emails, I'm sorry, thanks. You guys, when you get those emails from the city, don't just delete it, or you got to get involved. You have to start reading, you have to see what they're proposing, and you have to venture your opinion. You need to let them know. It's like if you don't vote, you shouldn't talk about anything about politically, because you're not voting, so you don't care. You got to get involved. You have to go read what their plans are, and you have to let them know what's going on. Let them know what your thoughts are. They need to hear from us. You got to be vocal. You can't just read this stuff. It's not Time magazine you read and just put aside. You got to take some sort of action to let them know, look, these are our expectations from our city elected, members. That's all I can tell you.
And one more thing, just really quickly. Tanya McKenzie is on Facebook Live. She's on the GPAC, and she's begging people to speak up. The meetings are online now. They're all Zoom. We all have the opportunity, and as NRBBA, we'll do a much better job communicating to the organization, the residents and the businesses about what the issues are that we need to speak up about. I'll put Tanya's contact information on the Facebook page, along with the Facebook Live and everybody else's contact information that we need.
And very quickly to Mo's point, another great point. If you want to get involved, get involved. There is an email that is going out right now concerning the residential design guidelines. What's that? Well, it's going to be the blueprint of what should our homes in Redondo Beach look like. What should they look like? And it's a survey, and there's a checklist. What do you like in homes? What should we have? Rooftop decks? Are those good for seeing the beach? And there's 24 plus items where you could show your preferences. There's an area for comments. I know this is that's residential, not commercial, but it's sort of the same idea. Get involved. It can be easy. Check those boxes. Let it be known what you think Redondo Beach should look like, and we're listening. And,
how do you get that survey?
You know what? I'll send that out. I think I got that from you.
You may remember.
Yeah. I'll make sure that we share that with everyone. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. All right, Scott. Thank you so much.
Thank all of you.
Yeah.